Alright, welcome back. Hope everyone's having a lovely day, a lovely night wherever you're from, and real quick before we get started, as always, I want to give a lovely shout out to the channel members on this channel. So thank you so much to these lovely commanders here that you see on screen. Thank you guys so much for your guys' constant generosity and support to me as always. It really means a lot to me, so thank you guys so much. And if you guys are actually interested in becoming a lovely commander yourself, if you are interested in any of these cute and lovely emotes, loyalty crown badges, if you want a special role in the Discord, make sure to join the Discord. But as always, if you choose to do so, thank you so much. Just remember, that's not the only way that you can support me. Just watching the content like you are right now is truly the best way. Liking, subscribing, and commenting, everything really does help, so thank you guys so much. And for today's video, I'm sorry that it's been a bit in regards to CZN content, just been really busy, but also really enjoying this season, the story and everything in regards to Tiphera, really enjoying her playstyle as well, getting more used to her in the chaos. She is really crazy. So as always with these type of videos, there's going to be a breakdown of everywhere, anywhere in the timestamps wherever you want to go down below. But before we get started, I want to give a massive shout out to Smilegate for making this a paid promotion video. Without your guys' constant support, I wouldn't be getting opportunities like this, so thank you guys so much. That being said, even though this is a paid promotion video, everything I say is 100% of my own opinion. They can't make me say anything that I don't want to. So with all that out the way, let's get started. Thank you again. Now, first things first, while we're here, I feel like it's a good way to just showcase the wallpaper, because this is what you get if you want to pull for her and get the Affinity wallpaper. I feel like it's one of the more tame ones. It's very cute. It does remind me a bit of Laplace. I think it's really adorable though, and it's definitely one of the more chill ones I've seen people enjoy. If you like feet, I mean, hey man, this one's pretty good. But me personally, you know, I'm a gooner at heart, right? So when we're talking about like what are my favorite picks when it comes to the Affinity wallpapers, I mean, Yuki's is really good, Chizuru's really good, but then we got like Omega upgrades, because we got like Sweat Underboob 9, Wedding Dress, Nadaja, but we got my favorite girl, alright, Serennial Belly, Big Booba wrapped up. You already know, alright? This is the cream of the crop. But with all that yapping out the way, let's talk about Tiphera a little bit, because her release is coming at an interesting time that we know that Season 2 has no limited characters. So it's up to you now if you want to keep saving up for the limited that comes up, most likely next season, just in time for summer, or if you want to pull for someone that really interests you. For me, Tiphera really interests me in her kit and AP drawing power, but also a really strong healer. She has been doing so fantastic, and she's such a strong character for the chaos, and she's really fun to play with just because of how her archetype cards work. I think she's really enjoyable. But if you aren't really interested in, you know, caring about the kit, you only care about the looks of the character, maybe you might be interested in the next upcoming character, because we did get a teaser for Rita, and she's been in the story. She is a Justice Psionic character, and although it's just a teaser image, if you brighten up the contrast a little bit, you get a way better look at her. She looks fantastic. Good looking assets, I can already see that. Seen a little bit of debate about whether it's a fox girl or a cat girl, but due to the Egyptian vibes of her look and design, cats do have like a strong devotion with Egyptian. So I'm assuming that it's a cat girl, just based on that alone. You can fight me about it. Hoping she does really good, because it's been a minute since we've gotten more TLC for other characters in terms of me wanting to push for an E2 or something. So maybe, hopefully, this is a good go around. Been in a gambling mood, you know what I mean? And I will be talking about Tiana in a little bit, more towards the partner section, so as always, go to that timestamp. But let's get started, and let's actually talk about Tiphera. So, the way Tiphera is right now, stats-wise, your biggest priority here is definitely going to be focusing on defense. Once again, she is a defense-based damage character, but she's not really a damage character. You really have her as like a support. You can make her a sub-DPS if you want to, but it's just not the way I'm going to be talking about it, but it's an option, for sure. But the reason why you want her defense this way is because in her potentials, this is where it's really important, because depending on the route you take, either way, these two at the top want her to have defense. Because this unique stat upgrade that is really good, if Tiphera's defense is greater than 300 at the start of the battle, plus 10% to critical damage allies. So you really want to make sure that you get her 300 defense or above. And this one also, because it's for unique cards, which most of her kit and how you use her is from her unique cards, not her basics. So you get plus 5% heal and shield gain amounts to her archetype cards. If Tiphera's defense is greater than 250, add an additional 5% the modifier, so it could be 10%. That's fantastic. That already makes her already amazing healing even better just by getting her defense stat up. So make sure that you focus on that when it comes to the memory fragments. I will show you how mine are, but let's go in order here because we gotta have a long section here and talk about her cards and everything. So this might be a long one, so buckle up. First things first, we have her starting cards. Matter Disintegration, which is an attack card, 102% defense-based damage. Barrier Deployment, you get 2 of them, and they're both skill cards. For me, it's a heal 71% and a 71% shield. The reason for this is because, once again, the potentials, if you get the 4th marker over here, the basic card Proficiency, it decreases the heal amount of the Barrier Deployment card to 70% and adds a 70% shield effect. That's why it is the way it is. I think last time in the kit analysis I said 80%. I was just trying to remember off the top of my head, so I do apologize for that. But it is 71%, 71% for both heal and shield. Either way though, due to how easy it is now with the chaos, you could just remove these starting cards. You really won't be using these at all. Your bread and butter is going to be Quantum Seed, which we will be talking about all the epiphanies in the other section if you want to go to it. But right now we're just breaking down our kit a bit more. Quantum Seed is a skill card to heal 120%. Create 2 archetype cards in the draw pile, and then you draw one of them. And now what the archetype cards are these 3 cards that she can create. There is Circle, Triangle, and Square, and they're all skill cards. And they're all exhaust as well. Circle is a heal 72% and giving you 1 AP. Triangle is 72% shield, and then an increased damage amount of the first hit of the next attack card by 30%. And due to the nature of how these cards work, you can kind of spam them and get more of them. That's why there's a max of 300% here, just to keep that limited, because it could be really OP if it didn't. And then Archetype Square, which is a heal 72%, but you also draw another archetype card, and it seems to be random. So it could be another square, triangle, circle, whatever you want. So that's Quantum Seed. That's going to be your bread and butter for how her mechanic works. And then we also have Form Convergence. Form Convergence is a draw 2 archetype cards, but when you draw those 2, you double a random effect of those cards for 1 turn. So for those 2 cards that you pull, 1 random effect could be doubled. So maybe you get 2 AP, double the healing, who knows. So a little bit of fun gambling with this kit, which I do appreciate. I think it's fun. Depending how you want to go with it, it could get really ridiculous though. And then we have Creation and Destruction, which is an attack card. 144% defense-based damage, 96% shield, and heal 96%. Now, Harmonization, double all effects. What Harmonization is that let's say you're in the middle of a run and you only have 1 AP left. That 1 AP should be used on this Creation and Destruction card, because Harmonization means that you use whatever AP is left that matches that card amount. Because this is a 1 cost, that 1 AP you have left, you use it on this card, and it doubles the effects. It doubles the defense-based damage, the shield, and the healing. It's a really fun card, and I really like that Harmonization effect. I think it's really cool. I don't know, it's so simple, but I think it's really fun. So I do love this card for that, but that's how the Harmonization works. And then we have Dual Creation, which is an upgrade card and a unique. When 2 archetype cards are created, you create 1 identical card in the discard pile. So typically you're going to want to use this card ASAP, just because when you use this, you can take advantage of the idea that another identical card can be added to the discard pile. And then we also have Event Horizon, which is her skill card that's a unique and can't be copied. Now, Form Upgrade is really interesting. So what this card gives you is 1 AP, draw 1, an increased damage amount of the first hit of the next attack card by 40%. But while you have this card in your hand, when you activate an archetype card, it's going to increase a random effect. And this can happen 3 times. And it could be random. Maybe you get 2 AP, 2 draw, 80% damage amount first hit. Or you could get 4 AP, 4 draw. It's random how it works. But this only happens 3 times and increases the amount, but it doesn't change the cost. A little bit more gambling with that, but I think it's really fun that way. That's just me though. I just think it adds a little bit of chaos, but controlled chaos. You can go really wacky with her kit, but I like to keep it a little bit controlled. but this is just one way of having constant like RNGs, because you don't know what you're going to get from this. What the form upgrade does, you can't try to make it go one way or the other. So keep that in mind. But with all this out the way, let's break down some of these epiphanies, because there's quite a bit here. Now, with this first one right here, this is a basic increase. You heal 180% and you create 3 archetype cards instead. Very basic, and in my opinion, really don't care about this one that much, because there are 3 types of builds that you can do here. You can do a targeted build, you can do a gambler build, and you can also do a retain build. Now, I've seen Try to Win talk about this, seen a lot of other creators talk about this, but I feel like these 3 are going to be the direction that you want to go with what kind of Tiphera you want to make. And the reason for that is because I don't really like her first one, because it's a basic increase, and her 5th one, which is this one, which is a unique, so you can't copy it, and you create 1 archetype card. When AP is 0, you create 1 archetype card in hand and draw pile each 1 time per turn. Now, due to the nature of it being a unique, you lose so much drawing power for the archetype cards. So in theory, this sounded like a really good card, but in practice, it can be a little underwhelming, considering the fact that when you copy the other cards, you get so much drawing power out of them. So I would really avoid this card personally. It's just not really great for how she works if you really want to maximize her. But that's just my opinion. Now, let's get back and let's start talking about these other ones. So let's start with her retain one. Now, it does make it a 1 cost, but what this does is that it creates 3 archetype cards in the draw pile, and then you draw 1 of them, and you activate the retain effect 2 times on 1 random cards of this unit in hand. Now, I think this is a really useful one as well, so I'm tempted to do a retain build, and that's because most of the time, especially with how egregious her AP generating can be, maybe you don't need all of those resources and you want to save it for the next turn. This helps with that, so I think that can be really handy. So definitely, if you don't like, if you've noticed that when you're doing runs and stuff that you're just getting like 6 AP and then the turn ends and you can't save it because it doesn't have retain, this might be a good solution for you. So I definitely think that this card has a place. And then there is this one, which is a gambler build, which isn't really for me, because let me explain it. So this is a 0 cost and it's a draw 1, and then you predict which archetype card will be created, and then you create 1 archetype card, and if you predicted which one it was going to be and it was correct, you create the rest in the draw pile, which is huge, and you get a lot. This is probably like peak maximization of her archetype cards in terms of drawing, if you get it right. But if you get it wrong, here's what I've noticed a lot of people doing, in that if you actually use the Sands of Time to revert and go back, because you already saw what it was, now you can guess it again and then get it correct. If you don't like doing that huge min-maxing, which I personally don't, this is not going to be for you. It's fun guessing and gambling and stuff, but having to always feel like I need to, because if I get it wrong, I'm going to have to use my Sands of Time, go back and forth constantly, it can get tedious. That's just not for me. My personal favorite, and what I meant by controlling the chaos, is this one. You heal 120%, but you select 1 archetype card, and you create 1 in hand and draw a pile each. Now, this is a copy target, so although it's just 1, you can get more of them, and it's at least what you want, which I think is really important. Because let's say that you make a bunch of them, it's all RNG, right? So I don't need all this shield, I need AP. Boom, I can get AP. Maybe I need shield now, let me get this going. So I get to choose what I want. Depending on the type of build you can go for, those are the ones you can choose from. So 2, 3, and 4 definitely have their place. It's just a matter of how your playstyle is, as always. And then we have Form Convergence. Form Convergence, we're just going to start from left to right. This one, I actually use this one because it's just a basic, but it's really helpful because it's a retain. You draw 3 archetype cards, and then you double a random effect of those cards for 1 turn. And it could be literally for anything. It could be double AP, double healing, the shield, whatever it is on any of those cards that you draw. And this also has retain, so you can actually hang on to this maybe for the next turn if you already used a bunch of quantum seeds. So I think this is a very handy card in my opinion. Definitely has its place. Then there's this one, which is a retain. You draw 4 archetype cards, and then you select and exhaust one exhaust card in hand. Now, if you're using somebody like, let's say, Serenial, you have a bunch of them, this can maybe be a little handy just so you can free up a little bit of space, but also keep this. It's not that bad at all. I can definitely see a place for it, depending if you have a bunch of wasted exhaust cards that you don't need, or you just keep drawing them so you don't mind losing some. I can see that. And then there's this 0, which is really helpful if you are using the Retain build, and that changes all the archetype cards in hand into a different archetype card, and then with Retain, you draw one archetype card. So even more drawing power just on top of that already with the Retain build. So this coincides with that. And then we have this one, which is a 1 cost, Retain, select and exhaust up to 3 exhaust cards from all cards, and then you draw 1 exhaust card for each exhausted. This one's really handy as well, especially if you have a bunch of junk cards you really don't want to use, or like I said, you use a lot of spam cards for certain exhaust builds. This can work really well. For me, I just wanted to focus more on Tiphera rather than focusing on just pure exhaust builds, because I've noticed that I'm slowly just getting more used to just doing exhaust builds, and it's getting a little tiresome. But that's just, that's just me just kind of overdoing that playstyle. And then there's this one, which is also good if you can get lucky, but it's a bit more gambling too, because it's a draw 1 archetype card, and then repeat until the same card is drawn consecutively, max 6 times. So you can get lucky and draw 6, or it can just instantly go away, and then boom. So you can do this if you want, but you can control the chaos like I mentioned, so I personally kind of prefer just a basic increase, you're good to go. Now with this next one, we also have the Creation and Destruction. Now this one's kind of tough, because I feel like realistically the 4th Epiphany is really the only one to go for, but let's go in order and let's talk about why. So Creation and Destruction, it's just the basic increase to everything. Shield, the healing, the defense-based damage, and it still has the same harmonization of doubling all the effects, which is fine, but at the same time, it's just a basic increase. This one, although it's a 5 cost, this one's really weird to me, because like I said, I don't see Tiphera really as a sub DPS. You can try to make her that way, but I don't really like her that way. She's definitely more of like a support AP draw. And even though it's a 5 cost, the reason why is because when a card is exhausted, you decrease the cost of this card by 1 for 1 turn until used. So let's say you're spamming a bunch of exhaust cards, this can go all the way down. So that's fine, and she can deal damage if you build her a certain way. But the way I have my memory fragment set up, she is definitely not made for that. So I tend to ignore this card anyway. Then there's also this one with the Retain, which is a 2 cost, and I really feel like it's just not worth it. Even though, like, increase all of the effects by 100% until activated max 4 times. That can be good, but at the same time, I feel like it's just not really worth it for this type of card. So the reason why I like this card is because, one, when we're talking about copy targets or anything, it makes this a unique, so you don't have to worry about getting this as a copy target when you're trying to get Quantum Seed. And then when you get 0, you create a basic Creation and Destruction, but you don't just get 1. It's every time you have 0 AP, and if you have like a bunch of turns per battle, you can get a lot more of these, so I feel like it's more useful that way. So I think that's fair. This one's a little ridiculous. This last one, I feel like it's kind of not really that worth it. It's more like a meme, and it's like Gambler. 180% defense-based damage for each cost of this card. When a card is exhausted randomly, change the cost of this card from 1 to 9. And you can obviously get a really good deal with it, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like I'm just not really there for it. Maybe if you're going all in on like a Gambler sub DPS, Tiphera, maybe. But that's not what I'm here for. you know what I mean? Like, I'm here for R-type cards, not the defense-based damage. But that's just me. That's just me. And then lastly, we have Dual Creation. And going in order here, we have Unique Initiation. I will say though, before we get started, all of these have their place. For Dual Creation, I will respect that. All of them have like their own place, so I can't really say any of these are like weaker than others, because I feel like depending on your playstyle, they all work. But with this first one, Dual Creation, it's an upgrade, Unique Initiation. When 2 archetype cards are created, you create 1 identical card in discard pile. This one's really good, Initiation, and it's cheap because it's only a 2 cost of the cards to get 1 identical in the discard pile. This one, on the other hand, which I use personally, it needs 3 archetype cards and creates 1 identical card, but it applies retain to that card. And like what I mentioned, saying that I like control, like a little bit of control with the retain aspect, so I can at least keep something. So in my opinion, I feel like this is really useful, especially when you're fighting a boss over turns, and let's say that they are just shielding, you don't have like any cards to use the AP, no point in wasting it, at least I have retain. That's what I think it's really useful for, but at the cost of needing 1 more archetype card to be created to get one. So that's kind of the trade-off. And then with this one, Unique Initiation, when Archetype Square is activated, you create 1 different archetype card in discard pile. Now, ignore this. I was setting up for recording. But when we're talking about the utilization of this, the reason why I don't use this personally is because I really don't use the square so often. The heal 72%, draw 1 archetype card. Now, obviously, even though I'm drawing it, it does create a different one in the discard pile. It's just a matter of me just what I need in the moment, you know what I mean? I just don't think about later. So for me, it's not a great fit. And then we have this one, which is a unique and a skill card. You create 1 of each archetype card and create 1 of the next archetype card exhausted. I feel like you can't really go wrong with this card either. I feel like this one's also a really good pick. And this one as well, Unique Initiation, when an archetype card is moved to hand, you duplicate that card and remove a random effect 5 times per turn. So not only do you duplicate the card, it actually removes 1 of the random effects, and it could be anything. So maybe it removes the AP, the healing, maybe it removes the shielding, the damage, or who knows, right? So it's random. But if you like that, you think that's really fun, then go for it. I like to have a little bit more control, but obviously she is very open with how you want to be creative with her, which I do like. And then with the last one obviously being her Event Horizon card, it's not a copy one, so that's why this one is just going to be as is. Now, when we're talking about partners, Tiana is definitely going to be the one that is like the main pick. Obviously, she is going to be like the rate up partner, so it makes sense that she's going to be the best one. But that's because she has like a really strong perk for her. So what she has is an 8% assigned combats defense increase. When the assigned combats creates 3 exhaust cards, which she does because of her archetype cards, increase the damage amount of the next attack cards of allies used by 15%, max 2 stacks, so it could be 30%. But this one right here, when the assigned combatant has activated both shield gain and heal through order cards, plus 6% critical chance to allies for 1 turn. Critical chance is so good and so important, and also the fact that she has those order cards for shield gain and heal, obviously she is going to trigger this. So this is really useful to have her on your team just for that critical chance alone. That's really nice. And then with the exhaust cards right here, draw 1 exhaust card. The next 2 times an ego skill is used, draw 1 exhaust card, decrease the cost of the next ego skill used by 1. Sort of a mini version of Tiphera's ego skill. Now, if you don't want Tiana, but you do have Nyx, Nyx is actually a really good alternative, and that's because she increases the assigned command's defense, health, and heal amount by 8%. So Tiphera does benefit from this, and then when the assigned combatant draws for the first time each turn using an ability, plus 8% damage dealt by allies for 1 turn. So she can still take advantage of this just because of her drawing nature. And then her ego skill, obviously, the drawing power that she gets from discarding 3 cards and then drawing 1 more on top of whatever you discard is really nice. But let's say you don't have Nyx, you don't have Tiana. What can you use? Well, let's say you want a mini-me Nyx and you want drawing power. You're going to ignore Yuri, obviously for her passives because they don't really benefit Tiphera. You're going to look at her ego skill. That draw 2, that's really handy. Or if you're the opposite and you want good utility and survival, then you're probably going to want Arwen. And that's because she increases the assigned command's health and heal amount by 8%. And then she also provides damage reduction. And then her ego skill with healing and damage reduction. So 2 different ways you can go about it. You want utility, survival, or you want drawing power. There is a normal battle pass version, and there's also a little free-to-play version with Yuri. But you got to take what you can because obviously Yuri's passive suck, but she has good drawing power, so you kind of have to take what you can, you know? Now let's go back and take a look at how my save data looks, just so you can get like an example of how I approached it. Now, obviously a lot of people are going for like Quantum Seed with Divine Epiphanies and stuff. I just get what I can and have fun with it. like I said, I'm definitely more of a casual player when it comes down to this, especially in the CC scene. Especially when we're talking about content creation or anything like that. I have fun with this game, and I don't want to burn myself out. If I'm constantly trying to grind the perfect deck, to me, I'm going to start losing some of that fun. So that's why I'm trying to show you, like, you can make a really great character with just having non-divine epiphanies or anything like that and still have fun. So for me, I'm using the, the targeted build right here. That's why I have 4 target copies of this Quantum Seed. I have the basic Form Convergence, draw 3 archetype cards. And then I have the unique Creation and Destruction. And then when 3 archetype cards are created, create 1 identical with Retain Dual Creation. I have that. The equipment I use, I got lucky and I got Harp of Conflict. For 1 turn, when each of damage, shield, and heal has been activated through cards by allies, increase damage amount of allies by 15%. This one's really nice. I use Psionic Combat just to help her out, just because she provides a lot of shield for the team because of the nature of her exhaust with the cards. And obviously Shining World Tree Stem to get some good healing amount. There is a blue version of this you can use as well. And potentials, she is very, very expensive because you really want to try to go for both the unique stats because I think they do benefit her. Now you could probably use this unique card upgrade and leave this at 7, and then you probably don't need to max these out either, but definitely try to go for both of these unique cards and unique stats, the final potential. Maybe go for this if you want just to have it for the early runs. I think it's helpful. At least get some shield. Not bad as well. And memory fragments, like I said, I'm not building her as a sub DPS. I'm using her as a support. So I'm using Glory's Reign and Tetra's Authority set, and I made sure to get her defense at 300. It's getting close to 400, so not bad. But I'm using Glory's Reign because when an exhaust skill card is created or used, which the archetype cards are literally that, it increases the damage amount of allies by 5%, max 15%. So she gets another passive from this that helps the team just for her drawing nature. So I think that's really useful and adds more to her support style. So I prefer that personally. And then when we're talking about dupes, realistically, she doesn't really need any dupes. I don't use dupes on her, and she's fantastic. She's fantastic in the Basin of Hyperspace, in Chaos, love her. Her E1 is just a good quality of life for her Event Horizon card, changing the max stacks from 3 to 4. And then this one, it creates another special archetype card, but with only these effects, which is kind of a bummer too, because it's only these specific effects. So for Circle, you get the heal, Triangle, you get the damage amount, and then Square, you get the draw 1 archetype card. You can't get like the AP or anything like that, or the shield, which is unfortunate. I feel like that's one of the biggest like drawbacks from this too. And then Ego skill upgrade, and then she starts getting some good stuff here at E4, but for a standard character, it's not really worth it for most unless it's waifu, but for me it's not. So E0, definitely content with that, can't really complain. And I think that is it. That was a whole lot of yapping, but I definitely hope you appreciated it because her kit can be very complex and can be kind of jarring if you don't know what you're doing. So hopefully I explained it a bit, and you know me, I'm more casual, but still I have fun with this game and I like doing what I'm doing with not only just casually playing, but also making videos. So hopefully you enjoy them too. But that is going to be it for me. Do let me know what your thoughts are on Tiphera, whether you're playing the story, whether you actually pulled for her. Do let me know. I'm having a lot of fun with her personally, which is a surprise, but she is a great support, but I am definitely looking forward to Rita. That is going to be it for me though, so I hope you guys have a lovely day, lovely night wherever you're from, and as always, thank you so much for the constant support. Take care, and have a good one.